Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video, I noticed everyone really liked the repeats video I did. So this series, I'm going to call it the Blowout series. And this is really going to be intended for shoes that just didn't make the cut for my rotation. Whether it was before I started doing these reviews or even anything moving forward that I get on my feet and they just don't really fit in anywhere. I don't particularly reach for them, or there's just not enough range or value that I'm looking for in my rotation. That's what this series is going to be all about. And so I'm going to have 4 shoes to talk about, and I do have some notes here just to keep myself on track. Because I do think there's a few important call outs for each of these shoes, and not only why they didn't work out, but also considerations for some potential alternatives that you may be looking at, whether we're looking at that from a value standpoint, whether we're looking at that from an overall intended purpose and performance standpoint. So with that being said, let's jump into it here. So the first shoe that was the biggest and most unfortunate blowout for me was the Superblast 3. The Superblast 3 for me is truly, in my opinion, a glorified easy day, daily running recovery shoe. And the problem with that shoe, at least for me at my size, is that the foam was just too soft, which is interesting because I actually, one of my friends, Alexander, he actually sent me the pair of Metaspeed Rays that he had just to try them out. And the carbon fiber plate actually made that flight foam leap. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Felt a lot better with that carbon plate because there was some added rigidity. I know the Superblast 3 has that bottom layer of EVA that's supposed to help, but it just didn't really work well for me. And I'll actually flash up here a photo of what it looks like when a bigger runner actually runs in that shoe. So again, as if you're new to the channel and you may not know this, I'm 5'11", I weigh 195 pounds. My daily run pace is anywhere between an 8:15 to 8:45, and my tempo and threshold is generally below 7 minutes per mile. So for me, what I found over time, and I believe I got about 20 or 30 miles in that shoe, is that I only ever really used it for easy runs or daily runs. I tried one long run in that shoe, and that's when I realized that shoe just isn't for me. It's too soft. It actually felt like it bottomed out, and not necessarily in the way of like, oh, a foam over time, it just doesn't have that rebound. It was literally to the point where it was about 6 miles into the run where I had to get some up-tempo work in, and it felt like my legs and feet were trying to dig out of the bottom of that shoe. Again, just going back to that compression photo, it was very apparent that that's what was happening with that shoe. I think it's a good shoe if you're a more traditionally built runner, but if you have any kind of size or muscle on you, or larger size or muscle, I should say, no body shaming here, it's just not really gonna work for you in that regard. So, and again, when I'm thinking about it, right, is what was the value? It was a $210 shoe, and it was only going to be relegated for easy day or daily mileage, right? And so some of the alternatives that I thought is that if you want a softer shoe, or enjoy that softer ride, but it's gonna still be more robust so that you don't have that bottom out feeling, the Rad UFO, in my opinion, was actually a very good shoe in that regard. And again, this was one of the shoes that I just started reaching for instead of the Superblast 3s, because it was soft, because it still had that nice comfort and stability to it. This was a very reliable and consistent foam. So this is going to be around the similar price range. So if you're looking at that shoe and you're okay with that price point, I would definitely recommend the Rad UFO over the Superblast 3. Another one that I also thought would be good is that if you're looking for more of that long run shoe capability, I've really enjoyed the Adidas Hyperboost Edge. I still need to do a full review on it. I'm hoping I can knock it out this weekend. But this shoe, I think, and again, it's because it doesn't have some dual foam setup. It's their new, I think it's EPIBA from Adidas with their Hyperboost Pro foam. Solid option here if you're looking for that long run shoe, and it's comfortable and cruisy enough for your daily miles as well. So again, similar $200 price point. I think that this shoe can do what the Superblast does, but better. And then the last one that I want to call out here is if you're looking for something with a little more spring, I think the Topo Spectre 3, and this is going to be the best value option because this is $30 to $40 cheaper than the other shoes, whether it's the Superblast 3, the UFO, or the Hyper Boost Edge. This foam, and it has a similar compound as the Flight Foam Leap with the ATPU, but this ATPU is a little denser, and the way I see this is that it sits really nicely in between the Superblast and the Mega Blast. So not as firm, so you can still get your daily runs in this and it not feel too jarring. But then it's not too soft to where it starts feels like it's bottoming out. My first run in this, I took it straight to do a 9-mile run with some up tempo in it, and it performed beautifully for the easy parts of the run and for the up tempo work. So this is, for me, the better Superblast 3. And I also think that it's got a little bit more of an accommodating fit in that forefoot. So again, highly recommend these 3 shoes. So let me flash them up here again. So if we're looking for that alternative for the Superblast 3, it's going to be the UFO, the Spectre, and the Hyper Boost Edge. So the next shoe on the list that was an unfortunate blow, and again, none of these shoes necessarily were bad, they just didn't fit anywhere in my rotation, especially when we're looking at the cost, is the Hoka Skyward X2. So the Skyward X2 for me is what I would consider a peak traditional max cushion recovery shoe. What do I mean by that? Essentially, that shoe, even though it had a carbon plate in it, 1, did not feel like it had a carbon plate in it, and then 2, kind of like the Superblast 3, although not as bottoming out of an experience, is that it was just soft, right? So if I wanted to do a recovery run and I just wanted something nice and soft on my feet, it was great. But again, I believe that shoe is either $200 or $225, and for me, that's a lot of money for a max cushion recovery shoe, which is what it ended up being. I did a long run in it. I did a 10-mile run, and it was great. It was a comfortable shoe. It was steady, stable, but picking up the pace definitely wasn't its strong suit. It didn't, even though it has a carbon fiber plate, it didn't really give you anything back, right? So that was a bit upsetting to me as far as the Hoka Skyward X2. And it just felt redundant in the rotation. So a couple of other options I'll consider, and you'll notice a pattern here with some of these shoes, is the Rad UFO. Again, if you just wanted a soft, comfortable daily recovery shoe, I think this shoe is great. Does it encourage you to go fast because it is on the lighter side? Yes, but we're all adults, and I think we can control our pace if we really want to. So Rad UFO would be my first choice. And if you really just want a stable recovery shoe, and I've just been singing its praises on for a while, ever since I got it a couple weeks ago, is going to be the Hurricane 26. This shoe is a stable cruiser. I love this shoe for my daily easy runs and for recovery runs. My legs are still recovering from my 10K that I ran this past weekend, and this shoe is just butter. It's been butter for my legs. It's the, you know how they say motion is lotion? This shoe, combined with getting that motion in, has been like lotion for my joints and my muscles getting back to feeling normal. So if you want 2 good options to replace the Hoka Skyward X2, Hurricane 26 or the Rad UFO. This, if you want a softer, lighter, can definitely pick it up much better than the Skyward X2. But if you're really just looking for something that's a little more stable, cruisy, and comfortable, I'll go Hurricane 26. And actually, this shoe is the reason why I ended up selling my pair of Skyward X2s. Because as soon as I wore this, I was like, what do I need the Skyward X2 for at that point? So might as well break even on getting these shoes. So that being said, so the next one I'll go into is going to be the Saucony Triumph 24. I know I've talked about that shoe a lot and the disappointment I have with it. And again, even though I don't like what they did with the Incredilux foam and democratizing it, I do think that there was some value to it, right? Is that, again, it's a daily trainer, but again, it's supposed to be a premium daily trainer, right? So why are we getting a blended foam in there instead of getting something that's either going to be like, I don't know, a supercritical TPU or getting a full ATPU. I mean, it's again, the Topo Spectre is the same price it's the same price as the Triumph 24. So why are we getting a democratized blended foam for the same price when we can just get the Topo Spectre? Anyway, that being said, I've talked about that shoe enough, and the simple first choice would be, this is an example of a great traditional premium daily trainer, the Nike Vomero Plus. This shoe has very similar stats, but does it in a much better package. I mean, it has that 10 millimeter drop. It's got that more classic, not really an aggressive rocker geometry. Still has some good stability in the back to lock your heel in. And it just does everything better. I mean, again, this is a TPEE foam, I believe, for this version of Zoom X, and it just performs well. The range is really good. I mean, the durability is clearly going to be there. I've enjoyed every mile I've put in this shoe. The forefoot doesn't bottom out. You can get this on sale for much cheaper right now as well, which also helps from a value standpoint, and it just has better range to it. So this would be alternative number one. And then alternative number two, as I just mentioned, is the Hurricane 26. So even though I really dislike the whole nerfing of these foams by blending an ATPU with something like an EVA or whatever cheaper material to bring the cogs down, which is cost of goods sold, if you're in product or anything like that, as I am. This shoe actually does it really well because, again, it's not trying to be something it isn't. This is a stability trainer. It comes in at the same price, yes, but it has a much better geometry. The rocker really helps move you along. It's got a nice heel transition. The drop is much more conducive for me. I prefer between a 6 and an 8 millimeter drop. And so if you're going to put a foam in there that's not going to be reactive or necessarily that responsive, I at least need a rocker. And especially for recovery runs, like, there is some bounce to it. It's not a terrible foam. It's just not a foam that if I'm paying that much for, I'm seeing the value in it. But this shoe, they just built it much better. I really enjoy the geometry. I bet you if Saucony stopped cheapening their foam and actually put in a more modern geometry with this, I think the Triumph could make a really strong comeback. But we'll see where the development goes with that shoe. Because at the end of the day, foam is just one component of it, and I think even just having a better geometry would save that shoe. And so last thing I will talk about is going to be the Li-Ning Red Hare 9 Ultra. So that shoe is a very popular shoe. I actually loved that shoe, but for me, as much as I've talked about before with the non-negotiables in your running shoes, that shoe had something in it that unfortunately didn't work for me, and that is that it was incredibly unstable. That super boom capsule, I think it creates a very uneven plane, and for my ankles, I have very small joints in general. So small joints, small ankles plus my weight equals a lot of pressure. I need to just have some kind of stability or a solid platform. And the Red Hare 9 Ultra just didn't do it for me. I did 2 runs in it one week, and when I went into my long run that weekend, I'll never forget, like, my legs and ankles were pulsing before I even started my run because they were just so fatigued from having to wear those shoes. And as much as I loved the bounce out of them, they just didn't do it for me. And so I think it's a great shoe if you don't have any stability needs whatsoever. But it just didn't work out for me, unfortunately. And there's nothing really quite like that on the market, which is the unfortunate part, right? Is that it has a similar kind of build-up or makeup to something like the Nike Pegasus Premium with that middle layer that the Peg Premium has with that air capsule. But there's nothing quite like that triple layered response. I mean, sure, I could recommend something like the Topo Spectre 3 because that ATPU bounce is really fun and is an addictive quality. But there's nothing quite like that. So unfortunately, I think that's just the one ghost I'm going to be chasing after. I hope they can make it a little bit more stable in their next iteration, but we'll have to see where it lands. But with that being said, guys, I'm just going to wrap up the video there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video for the 4 blowouts that I've had in the past few months of training here. hopefully I don't have to do too many of these, because I'd like to think over time I get better at picking the shoes that I know will work for me, but you never know. So that being said, what are some of y'all's blowouts? Like, what were shoes that you were really looking forward to, and then they just ended up not working out for you? You had to sell them or return them. Would love to know what you all have experienced as well. But with that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you didn't, please let me know down below why. And, you know, because again, I want to make videos that you all enjoy listening to. So hope you all have a nice day, and we'll talk soon.